All right. We are the Horror Bros. We are two
Yeehaw.
bros watching horror. Welcome back. My name is Ed.
My name is Logan. Alright, this week on the Horror Bros, we watched Grave Encounters from 2012, directed by the Vicious Brothers.
Mark.
Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Grave Encounters.
Psychiatric hospitals like this were seen as sort of a dumping ground for embarrassing family members rather than a place that they could go to actually get help.
Many of them were severely disturbed. It's truly frightening.
I swear to God that I saw someone right at the end of the hall there.
And he swears that something pushed him off the ladder.
So you guys see this window here? Lock it up real good at night. Come back in the morning. Sometimes this thing's wide open.
Tonight, my crew and I, using the most sophisticated in ghost hunting equipment,
We're in search of definitive proof of spirits that were unsettled in life.
And possibly unsettled in the afterlife.
is there someone here with us?
What was that?
What if this is something real?
Did you get that?
Do you see your own man?
Yeah.
I'm gonna document everything because when we get out of this place, people are gonna want to see this.
Matt and Houston are gone. We just need to focus on finding Leo.
What?
There's something over there.
Hey, who are you? How come you're in here?
Jesus Christ, what's happening to us? Why is this happening? Do you hear that?
In the opening scene of 2011's Grave Encounters, television producer Jerry Hartfield tells the audience, "What you're watching is not a movie. It has not been manipulated in any way. Cinema is an illusion. It's an illusion that we have all bought into and that filmmakers construct very deliberately. They are presenting something to you as reality that you know is not reality. This is something that all of us buy into when we watch a movie. Found footage, on the other hand, wants to convince you that it is real. However, these films are just as constructed as a conventional film. It's just doing it in a different way that is trying to charade as reality."
That was the film analysis. Now buckle up everybody, because I am a huge fan of found footage. I started watching found footage. I think the first movie I watched was late December of 24, and I watched it with Ed. We watched Wreck together, and I don't know, a couple days later, I was like, on a whim, I started watching Paranormal Activity, and from there was just no saving me. Since then, I have watched 13 found footage films. I have watched 4 Paranormal Activities, 3 Hell House LLCs, and 2 Grave Encounters, along with The Blair Witch Project, Wreck, The Last Exorcism, Taking of Deborah Logan, etc., etc., etc. The list goes on, but I love this genre. I love it to pieces, and there's a reason why I have 2 sets of found footage movies as decoration in my room. I have The Blair Witch Project, and I have Paranormal Activities 1, 2, and 3. So for some of you who aren't familiar, found footage, by my definition, is a movie in which the method and medium of recording is explained within the movie, and it is not an omnipotent, omnipresent third-person viewer. You are either a camera or a security camera or dash cam, etc., etc. Anything whose method of recording is written into the story. For example, in Grave Encounters, you have a film crew. They all explains why this movie is being recorded because it is a film group. And like Ed said, they put a lot of work into making you believe that this was genuinely recorded, handheld, or all those different ways. I love this movie. I think it is one of the better found footage movies I've seen. It's up there. I think it's on the tier beneath Paranormal Activity and Blair Witch, but it's still really good. I mean, Ed, what were your thoughts on the movie?
I think this is, well, not even answering question, but I think this is a really good episode to do for the podcast, because this is going to encompass a lot of our differences as horror fans. You have really found your passion in found footage, and I really struggle with it. Not really due to the genre in and of itself. It's just a genre that, like, I hadn't seen much of. The more I've seen of it has not made me more interested in found footage. Maybe more tolerant. I think it's made me more tolerant when I've seen the good ones, and now that I've seen some not as good ones. But it's just not a subgenre that I am personally interested in. There's some irritations that I have with it that I will get into with this episode. Look, we've seen the big three found footage films together. We watched Wreck, Blair Witch, and we watched Paranormal Activity together.
Yep.
So, like, it's not like I'll watch it, but like I would have to be watching it like with you, or like for the podcast. It's not a subgenre that I am particularly drawn to, and it's not the only one. Like, I'm also not into like gritty, realistic serial killers.
Same.
Or like stalkings or whatever, and I'm not into like, I don't know, I'm not into a lot of 21st century horror that's, you know, outside of found footage. So it's not personal with found footage.
And that's where I pick up, because I think I am more focused on the 21st century. We got to keep this focused on found footage, but I will mention Sinister and The Descent, both of which have aspects of found footage. Sinister, of course, with the Super 8 tapes. And then in Descent, you have this handheld night vision camcorder that's used for the first time you see the creatures. But overall, yes, I'm much more of a 21st century horror viewer than you are. I have not seen VHS yet. I'm hesitant to, because again, it gets into the gritty, realistic, just people being nasty people side of horror, which it's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
But if there was a top 4 of found footage, or like big 4 found footage, it would be Paranormal Activity, Blair Witch, Wreck, and VHS. Now, I of course would have a different list, because I would include Hell House. Amazing movies.
So my biggest takeaway, I think, from this film was, man, Blair Witch, Wreck, Paranormal Activity, those were pretty good.
Oh man.
At least, I mean, of course, my favorite of those would be Blair Witch. But watching this made me realize what was part of what was so good about even Paranormal Activity, which I did not enjoy. But Paranormal Activity was focused in its premise. It has a small scale. It sets that scale of, we're only going to be in this house with these, like, 2 people, and we're dealing with a demon. It was very focused on that idea, and it stuck with that. Blair Witch was also pretty minimalist. It doesn't provide a clear answer, and it has a lot of different elements of spooks in it, but it does really go in. It's very focused. It feels very focused. Hey, we're following these people. They're in the woods. There's 2 cameras. We're, you know, sticking with that perspective. But it felt very focused. And even though it has a lot of the unknown in it, it really had a lot of the, like, little suggestions, and then your brain thinks of a lot of scary things. and it felt very contained, very focused. And that's what I thought was lacking in Grave Encounters. And because there were moments when there were ideas that I found very interesting. And I mean, I'm gonna loosely go through the plot, just like the beats. There were ideas that I thought were very interesting, and then it would move on. And the film wasn't interested in pursuing that idea. And then it had another interesting idea, and then it kind of moved on. And then once you get to too many ideas, then I don't know what your movie is about, and none of them are going to be as interesting anymore, because there's too many of them.
Now, I went ahead and I watched Grave Encounters 2, and I think that movie, for me, it's the same thing stuck out to me as to why that movie was just not a good movie. Like, the story felt disjointed, because it had just, college students, and then college student who's, doing this, and then switching, and then he's in the asylum, like, half the movie, and then he jumps out of the asylum. And it also had some very interesting concepts. There was, like, a child section of the psych ward, and then there was a guy that got killed using the electroshock therapy, and ideas like that you would, would think to find in a psych ward, or an asylum. And I think some of those worked pretty well. I mean, in terms of the child area, they used it for three minutes, they had a scare, and they ran out, and it never came up again. So those qualms popped up a lot more to me in the second movie. But for me, when I look at the first Grave Encounters, the part that pops out to me is how this is kind of almost Dante's circles and levels of hell, and how the further and further they go, and the longer and longer they stay in this asylum, the more things get worse. And by the end of it, you've got one guy left, and he gets lobotomized.
I can accept that reading. I think Blair Witch did something similar, of gradually escalating stakes, constrained in one geographic location. I understand that, okay, there's gradual deterioration, there's definitely an escalation going on, but it still felt like a salad with too many ingredients. And none of them was as potent or effective because there was just like too many of them and in too small doses. I should probably start going into the
let's do it.
Plot beats a little bit.
I mean, I have some notes about how the medium of found footage is used in the movie. In terms of using the medium of found footage effectively, as I said, I think this movie is a really good movie, and I think it works pretty well as a found footage movie. I'm going to go ahead and digress into the types of found footage, or at least the types of the medium. Now, when you have a movie like Paranormal Activity is primarily stationary camera. So that's one camera set up in one perspective, and that can be security cameras too, sometimes dash cameras, and it's fixed. And so the big fear is, what do you see but that you don't see? Like, what's around the corner, what's moving, oh, that door is moving 2 inches, and then you have movies like Blair Witch and Wreck that are moving cameras. And I think Grave Encounters does a really good job of combining those. Not Grave Encounters. Paranormal Activity shines when it is a still camera. Or in the case of Paranormal 3, like a camera that moves back and forth. But for handheld movies, you have Blair Witch, which is kind of the best. But Grave Encounters pulls off both pretty well. And I remember thinking, halfway through the movie, that they set up all these cameras and they didn't do anything with them. And I was like, geez, like I had the same idea of like, that was a great idea and that's wasted now. But it did come back, and we'll hit that in the plot of Houston's death.
We will get to that. So the opening is TV producer Jerry Hartfield. telling us that this footage was recovered from basically a paranormal investigation show called Grave Encounters, which was hosted by Lance Preston. And
Woo!
how the hell
He's
are you
just
cheering for this guy?
I know, he's a jerk. Oh,
He's
yeah,
a slime
come on.
ball. He gives me the vibes of that singer from Jennifer's Body.
Okay, I don't know about that. He's not that.
So fake. And he's like, yeah, oh man, I was looking everywhere for y'all. Takes a sip of his drink.
Oh, you freeze.
Obviously standing
frozen.
calmly outside a burning building. Hey, do you want to come into my van? But that's just who Lance Preston reminded me of, and maybe it's because it's from the same era as Jennifer's Body. Guy liner. Look, we'll get into this at another time, but my relationship with the 2000s is
this is 2010s, man.
Love to hate.
This is like
hate
5
to love.
years after Paranormal Activity.
Look, decades don't end until like a few years into the next decade. The 2000s didn't end till like what, 2013, 2014?
Anyway. Yeah. Back to the plot.
Anyway, that's not important right now. And definitely some of the when they showed the intro of the show Grave
so
Encounters,
2000s.
I'm like, yeah, that looks very 2000s. It looks like the time I accidentally watched the 2003 remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I spent 30 minutes watching the film, and I was like, man, this seems like really ahead of its time, like weirdly. And then I saw one haircut, and I'm like, that's a 2003 haircut. I think something is wrong here. Grave Encounters, the in-universe TV show, has that like blue filter, fast editing, shaky cam. That was, man.
It would 100% be on History Channel at 1 a.m. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's the vibe that Lance Preston is going for. I think he knows his genre, he knows his audience. Anyway, so the television crew is led by Lance Preston. The other members of the crew are Sasha, Matt, TC, and Houston Gray, who's my personal favorite. He walked in from The Matrix.
With the giant coat.
I immediately thought Matrix jacket. He looks awesome. Yeah, he's just a theater gay who his side hustle is being like a fake clairvoyant, and that's how he's, paying the rent, is just being like, I sense a deep negative energy around here. Yeah. He just said your vibes were bad, and then you pay him. And that is, I wish him very well. I think that's awesome. Anyway, so Lance Preston, starts recording this episode 6 at the abandoned Collingwood Psychiatric Hospital, which was run by a Dr. Friedkin, who's absolutely named after William Friedkin, the director of The Exorcist. At one point, Lance mentioned something that I found kind of interesting. He says there's a distinction between an intelligent haunting versus a residual haunting. So the way that Lance describes it, it sounds like a residual haunting is like a broken record that just repeats itself. The spirit is there, it is replaying something traumatic. It does not interact with the living world, though perhaps like we can perceive it to a degree, but it doesn't interact with us. Whereas an intelligent haunting is a sentient ghost who is aware of the living and can interact with them. I thought that was a little interesting. I mean, I've seen a few ghost movies. Man, I don't have the exact quote, but there's the quote at the beginning of Guillermo del Toro's The Devil's Backbone. What is a ghost? Like a fly trapped in amber. Like a tragedy doomed to repeat itself over and over again.
You're in the wrong genre. We ain't here. I feel like I gotta turn to a country hate when I start talking about fan footage. No, we are not here. We're here for scares, and I think that may be the inherent difference in the two genres, you and me.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
I have two replies to that, which is, first of all, okay, I'm a film student, so I'm used to watching movies without the intention of enjoying them, having to watch movies with the perspective of what can I learn from this, especially when I'm not into a movie and I'm not like emotionally sucked in, which happens. Typically I will go into like an over intellectualizing.
And that happened in the first second of this movie?
Yeah. But on the other hand, I have a lot of material that I can like talk about for the podcast. But also I think at some point that we do need to have an episode where we can watch something that I love that's campy as hell, and I can just say, but it's fun. The guy has a chainsaw for a hand. What could be cooler than that? And then you can be the one who's like over intellectualizing, and I'm just like, okay, and
are you not having fun?
I don't give a shit. It's a hell of a good time, and the guy has a chainsaw for a hand.
I think that's just what happens, is one of us enjoys it and one of us thinks about it.
At some point, maybe we'll pick a movie that both of us like.
Yep.
My other thought was, I didn't find this movie too scary. I think I told you, like, I don't know what minute it was, but I was like, man, did we really wait this long to get an actual scare? And it was like the ghost girl Blair Witching in the corner, and I'm like, oh, so now we have a decent scare? We're at least 50% into the movie.
I would like to introduce a concept to you called building tension. Clearly you're not familiar with it. And I can understand. I can understand. Look, when you get pulled out of a movie and you're not into it and you're overanalyzing it, you don't get the same effect of building tension. But half of the fun for me of found footage and half of the scares is the tension. And I think that jump scares kind of get the focus because like that's something you can point to and say that's a scare. But for me, what I love about found footage and what I love about this movie is how the tension ratchets up the entire time. There is a bit right before I think TC gets pushed down the stairs where he's taking his handheld camera and he's walking through the halls, and it's a long shot of just him holding his camera. It may be cut, but the point is he's looking through you're looking at through the camera, and you're looking around corners, and you're walking down halls, and nothing is happening, and it is utterly terrifying, at least to me, because that's what's so scary about found footage is you have no control over what's going on, and you're firsthand there. So when you're looking around corners, you just hold your breath because there's probably a jump scare around that corner. And when there isn't, it just gets more and more tense. That scare is one of the first payoffs of that tension building up. And so, if you miss out on the tension, I get it.
I didn't feel it. Now, look, I think going around corners is scary. But the movie was not building tension for me. I just thought, oh, yeah, I'm just, like, waiting for a ghost to touch her hair. I don't know. It was unimpressive to me.
It's like the scene in Paranormal Activity where the demon blows on her hair. I mean, it's not...
Yeah. Okay. And
it's not meant to be super...
I don't remember having a strong reaction to that either.
No.
Suspense is a tricky thing to create. And there will be different interpretations about how it is best created. The example that I would go to is Black Christmas, which it's very much a bomb under the table movie. Bomb under the table comes from a quote from Alfred Hitchcock about the difference between like a thrill and suspense is that a thrill is a bomb going off. Okay, you're surprised for a few seconds, then what? But suspense is when you know there's a bomb under the table, and then you watch the conversation, and you can draw that out for much longer, and you keep the audience's attention in a much better way than when you're just blowing things up. So Black Christmas, you start the movie with, okay, there's a first person camera, there's someone in the attic. And you, the audience, you know that person in the attic is the slasher killer. But the characters don't. And the characters are dealing with the consequences of what the killer does. But us, the audience, we're gonna sit there in dread as we watch the house mother go up into the attic, because we're like, oh shit, but he's up there, and it's so much, and it's very engaging, and I'd say it's scary and suspenseful. But I would say that's not the only way to create suspense, but that's the example that I would go to first. Before we lose track of the actual plot of the movie,
I mean it's a bit late for that.
So there's some backstory apparently about what happened at this psychiatric hospital. There was this Dr. Friedkin who did some experiments on these psych ward patients. Something about the patients attacking the doctor. Which, when that was said, I was like, good for them. That is like some disabled activism right there. Look, I'm against medical malpractice, so what can I say?
I mean, I hope everyone is.
And I'm against exploiting disabled people, so of course I support them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. That's true. I mean, props to them. I mean,
I want to give a shout out to that gardener who did not have time for this shit.
That gardener was hilarious.
My favorite type of character, especially in horror movies, is like the blue-collar worker who does not have time for this shit. Who so like this gardener who's like, I just started working here. And then Les Preston is like, okay, well then just make something up.
Here's $20.
Like, just say you saw a ghost or something.
You know what my notes are for that scene? It's acting 100. This man pulls the greatest acting performance out of nowhere. He says, yes, I saw a ghost. Over there.
Over there.
I was terrified. It just, the emotion was palpable. I mean, I was trembling in fear for him.
I love how he went immediately to, like, okay, there's no way, I'm just gonna have to do what this guy wants. Yes, I saw a ghost. Right over there. Just to make Lance go away. And so he can get back to his actual job. Look, king shit.
Maybe we need to, like, shorten the plot summary.
Well, thing is, I like going through scenes because it organizes my thoughts.
True.
And now this is very bare bones of synopsis that I put down.
This could be more.
So I'm gonna rewind a lot of minutes. And Matt, who's the tech guy, he disappears.
Whoa. Jeez, that's a flash forward. Hold on, I think that's...
I mean, was there anything important that I missed?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that happened, like, halfway through the movie.
Well, I think I was just bored and I didn't write it down.
Alrighty, I'm gonna do this from memory then. Plot summary, alright. Greatest character decision in horror, Lance Preston locks the doors to the asylum. And so they start looking around, and then I believe the first real paranormal event we had was we follow TC walking through, and he gets a call from his wife and kid, and he sets the camera down on the floor facing a wheelchair. And as he is talking to his kid, and he's saying stuff like, monsters aren't real.
Monsters aren't real.
And even if they were, they wouldn't come to our house because I would stop them. And the wheelchair is moving in the background.
See, I just thought that was weak sauce.
And that's fun for me. I think that's great. And then he goes into a room and he gets the door slammed on him, and they're like, oh, it's something happening, and then nothing.
I wanted something to happen there, and then it didn't.
Nothing happened. And then, as they're walking through another hallway, they hear footsteps above them. And when they go to investigate, Sasha's hair gets moved. And then Sasha is like, becomes, she does basically what What's-Her-Name does in Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, Barbara.
She becomes a lot less.
Look, she doesn't go as far as Barbara.
That is true. I agree.
Yeah, okay, so this movie is not great with its female character. Singular.
The one.
Because it's just Sasha, and she kind of goes into the hysterical woman victim, which also did not get me on the side of this movie.
Yeah, it's true. She's no Katie Featherston. I know that's a very specific reference. Katie Featherston, whoa!
I look, okay, one thing, I do enjoy some good graffiti. And there is some good graffiti at this abandoned hospital. Of course, the greatest of which is Death Awaits. Right? On the front double doors.
Yep.
Fantastic design. See, when I'm rich, I gotta put that on my front doors, just to make people feel welcome. And also, there's one of the cells is like covered in writing.
Yep.
Those kinds of things that I believe. Also because I went to the Tower of London, and there is preserved like etchings on the walls from the people who were locked in that tower. It was really interesting. I love graffiti because it's like like real life found footage. I find it really fascinating. That could be a bit of a tangent, but I did enjoy that bit. I'm trying to tell you what I did enjoy about this movie.
That's true, and it does that specific room comes back in the second movie, being how the building communicates to its chosen. Is like making new sketches on the wall and communicating.
So
it's of course it's in one scene and it never comes back again.
Sounds like you have a theory about this supernatural situation, and I have a theory that I don't think is entirely textually supported. But what is your reading on?
You go with your theory first, and then I'll talk about my theory because. Yeah, I watched the second movie, so I know more. So you go ahead and go first, because yours is probably more pertinent.
I got on this train of thought from, that backstory about the patients attacking the doctor. And there's also a point at which Lance says he thinks he's yelling at what he presumes is a ghost. And he says, "We have a permit, and you don't." Which I thought was telling.
I think that's, he was talking at some kids that they thought broke in and were messing with them.
I thought it was right after, the ghost touched Sasha's hair.
It's right before.
Well...
Yeah, I think.
I thought he was talking to a ghost. Because also, he's trying to find a ghost.
That is true.
And he's trying to speak to them. So I think I thought he was talking to a ghost. But it got me onto this idea of these people who have been disenfranchised. These patients. Okay, they're not protected by a permit. They're not protected by the police. They're really totally vulnerable and outcast by society, by their families, and they're put in this psych ward. And they are just guinea pigs for this doctor and what he does to them. My idea behind these supernatural occurrences is that the ghosts of these patients are trying to make these living people feel the way that they were treated. And that colors, I have a few notes that relate to that, but a lot of the things, the supernatural things that occur, I could read as, that's similar to, some cult tactics or tactics of manipulation and control. And the ghosts are, trapping and torturing these people similar to what their experience was when they were alive and they were in this hospital. Their food rots. they're hungry. They can't sleep. They're tired, they're hungry, they're disoriented about what time of day it is. They're constantly on guard. Those are all things that make a person easier to manipulate. And those are things, those are the go-tos whenever you want to brainwash someone, whenever you want to draw someone into a cult. You go after their food, their water, their sleep, their basic physical health, and their sense of safety, so that you can more easily manipulate them, and they have a harder time resisting you. So that's kind of how I interpreted all of these supernatural occurrences in this building.
Yeah, I mean, and to add on to that, you've got when Matt comes back from being disappeared, he's in a psych outfit. They all get their little wristbands on their arms, and the people who start going insane, Matt and Sasha, like, we can leave when we're better. That's what they start saying. We can leave when we're better, but we're not better yet, so we can't leave. So I think that adds on to your theory. In the second movie, they kind of have, again, concepts floating around. The director, it turns out that the events of Grave Encounters that happened in the movie were actually real. And so a college student finds out, and he gets guided by, I guess it's the spirit of the building, to find out, to go, like, work his way into an interview with that same producer. And the producer straight up admits, yep, after I signed all these NDAs to the families of the people who died, I was like, you know what, let's just produce the movie and make some money. And then, so this producer guy is just straight up profiting off of people's death. That's just kind of out there. And then you have the building. So, huge spoilers for everything. But, both of these movies. But the building talks to Lance Preston, who is still alive at the end of the first movie, and has stayed in there for 10 years. The building starts talking to Lance Preston, saying, I need you to finish the film. Collect the tapes and finish the film. Now, I know this movie was released before Hell House by like 5 years, but Hell House LLC does the similar concept where they need a survivor. They need someone to live to tell the tale and bring more people to the hotel so more people will get killed. The movie Grave Encounters does not explain why he needs to finish the movie. It just kind of does. And, of course, then Friedkin's just kind of a weird guy who's in one part of the building. And he chases them for 5 minutes, and then that's it. That's all for Friedkin for this movie. But then the movie wraps up with the main character murdering the last remaining survivor, his girlfriend, and saying, alright, I'll make your movie. He will make the building's movie. And he works with the producer to make a movie. And at the very end, the end cap is kind of like the beginning to this movie of, he says, a little interview, everything in this movie is fake. All fabricated. And whatever you do, don't go looking for this asylum. There's nothing there. And then the last frame are longitude and latitude coordinates, which actually lead to an asylum, I think, in Canada.
And hey, it's Canadian! Shout out to all the Canadian horror filmmakers.
True. We got a soft spot for Canadian horror films.
Yeah, a lot of my favorite horror films are Canadian, and some of my favorite filmmakers. Look, I love a good haunting, and I especially love a good "the house is alive" kind of thing, because I like hauntings, and I really love creatures. And when the house is alive, it is a kind of creature that has its own rationale that is like different to a living human. And that's something that I really enjoy and I like thinking about and watching. But yeah, just from watching the first Grave Encounters, I did not get the idea that the building itself was alive, more that it was populated by ghosts.
And that it can be manipulated. Honestly, the part I love most about this movie is how they break through the doors that should be to the outside, and they still see
That was
death
actually my
awaits on
next
the
plot point.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's a great, really, really great, like, segue.
They, Matt has disappeared, and TC just decides, I'm done with this shit. I'm gonna break through the door. And he breaks through the door, and in the first time I watched this, I didn't actually realize what happened. The door to the outside becomes just another hallway. And they break through the door, and they look behind them, and the door still says, death awaits on the front. But it does not lead to the outside. And there are exit signs, but they lead to bricked up walls that look like they've been there for years, and windows that there are no possible way of getting out of. And later in the movie, there are stairs to nowhere, stairs to brick walls that have labeled on them fire exit, exit to roof, and there's no way of getting out. And I think it's shortly after this that they realize it's 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 a.m. And Lance checked the sunrise. It should have been at like 7:30. It should be light out. It is still midnight outside. And it stays that way for the rest of the movie. No sunlight for these characters.
When that new hallway appears, I was suspecting that would happen, but I still enjoyed it. I still definitely enjoyed it. That surrealism of I started to think of The Shining of does the geography of this building make sense? Like, can I trust my own memory of where anything is? I did think, oh wait, it's like you unlocked a new level of the video game.
Yeah.
I did enjoy that part. And then the sun doesn't rise, which I mean, maybe I would have suspected that, but
Yeah, there's a line in The Shining that I love, and it's Jack thinking, I wonder what it was like for the last caretaker to realize that for him, winter would never end. And it's chilling. Because, yeah, I don't think any of these characters really have that kind of moment of, we're never leaving here. We're never going to get out. The only person that would have had that realization is Sasha, but she was too busy, not being a character to say anything. But
yeah.
I think, even to the bitter end, Lance is like, I'm not crazy. This is not happening. This is not,
There's a moment, where Lance is talking to the camera, and I don't remember exactly what he said, but I just had thought, oh, it's his, McCready moment of, we're all very tired. Nobody trusts each other now, and we're all very tired. I just thought, oh, yeah. It's a McCready moment. And I think it's sometime after this that they discover the marks on Sasha's back.
Yep.
That is totally an homage to The Exorcist or Nightmare on Elm Street 3. And I can't tell you any explanation for why that would happen in this movie.
Nope.
Yeah, it's spooky, but then again gets to me being there's just a lot of ideas going on here, and I just, can they focus on something? But anyway.
Yeah. I was gonna say, kind of your comparison to McCready, that Lance never has a Heather Donahue moment, which is the Blair Witch Project. I'm so sorry to everyone's mom. That has been parodied many times. Which I'm sure you could read into that of how, as a woman leading the group, she's the one who has to apologize. But I think it more speaks to Lance, probably, of he's not here for accountability. He's here for, people want to know what's going to happen, so I'm recording this, even if you don't want me to. He's not here for accountability. He's here to, tell a damn good story. People will want to see this, and now they'll want to know. Even if you guys don't want to continue, the world wants you to continue. And that is a trend in found footage. You have to find a reason why people keep recording. And I think Blair Witch does a decent job of it. And a very similar, it's similar to Grave Encounters. The same thing, it's like, oh, we started out recording a documentary. This is not becoming a documentary anymore. And Lance doesn't own up to it. Yeah. So I don't think there's ever that moral analysis. The movie doesn't do it, the character doesn't do it of, he made the stupid decision and people are dying because of it and getting tortured because of it. But I don't think the movie or the character is interested in that. And I think Blair Witch pulls that off pretty well of, I brought people into this and I'm still recording. So there's that moral conflict. Not in this movie.
Yeah. This film embodies some of my irritations with found footage in the sense of, like, it's not interested in story. It's kind of just, oh, it's found footage over whatever the actual story is. I'm not saying that about, like, the all found footage movies ever, but this movie kind of has that.
Yeah, they can fall into that.
So eventually we see a ghost girl Blair Witching in the corner.
Yep.
And this is the moment when I thought, oh, wait, this is finally we actually get a scare. Maybe that's just me. Okay. She turns around, screams at them. She has this, like, CGI distortion on her face. And I'm like, you did not need that. You could have just had her turn around, and that would have been scary enough. You could have had her not turn around at all, and that would have been scary. You did not need to throw CGI on top of it. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to tell me?
And then
do you think it makes it scarier? If anything, it makes it goofier. What are you doing?
Yeah. The CGI in this movie isn't great.
It's not the quality of the...
Yeah.
I don't think it's the quality of the CGI. I think it's the usage of it. Because also, it's 2011. Like, they don't have the excuse of, oh, CGI just wasn't sophisticated enough at that point. It is. I think just the way it's used is not necessary and just a bit silly.
Yeah, I mean, getting into the next scene, I believe, is Houston's death, which has some poor CGI. It's just kind of a bad explosion. The guy kind of, like, pops up in the air and pops forward.
See, I thought that was practical. I thought they did that practically.
No, not when he gets lifted off the ground. The lifting off the ground, I don't know if that was practical or not, but it didn't seem badly animated to me. But when they kind of just, like, you can tell that they just kind of drew a little line around his character and, you know, picked him up, whoop, whoop, and now he's, like, halfway across the hallway. And then there's a bad explosion. Like, how are ghosts causing explosions? Jeez.
Let me backtrack, like, 30 seconds in film time. My next plot point is Houston dies. He is blindly stumbling around a hallway.
And,
and then he is picked up by something, and then he's just...
exploded.
Zapped.
It's not really explained. They cut out his little person and shoop, just, like, moved him.
Whoop. Like, whoop.
I will say the sequence before that, I think they pulled off the stationary camera found footage really well. Like, finally, these cameras are being used for something, and it is I think it's really fun and scary to be able to see, like, he just has no idea what's going on.
They just did not end it well. Like, the sequence was good.
And then they just blew it.
There are a couple good deaths in this movie, but there are two of them, and we'll get to the other one that I'm like, this is dumb. This is just dumb.
It's not so dumb, it's brilliant. It's just dumb.
It's just dumb. And I will say it again when we get to the other one.
I would almost say that there's 3. We'll get there.
Well, I tried to write down the deaths as they happen, so we should hit every death.
Yep.
So, R.I.P. Houston, he was my favorite.
He was fun.
We have the appearance of the ID bracelets.
Yep.
which that was spooky.
Yep.
My next note is they rediscover Matt.
Yep.
And Matt is
Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. He is insane.
And he's in a hospital gown
with some white.
He is clearly a shell of his former self, and something has happened to him.
Yep. And he continues to be that for a while.
And yeah, this really reinforced my theory of like the patient's revenge. I mean, if it wasn't for this other shit going on, I'd say, okay, this is a good concept, but I don't know if that's what this movie is actually going for.
I don't know.
Okay, so the way I wrote down the plot in my notes, and these are my notes like after I watched the movie and then I looked at the Wikipedia plot synopsis, I basically just wrote down what I thought were important points, or what I found interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much like the actual step-by-step events. So my next plot point is RIPTC.
Okay, before that, hands come out of the ceiling and then they start running again. That was kind of cool.
That was spooky.
That was spooky.
That was spooky.
Hands come out of the walls and the ceiling and they start running again. Props to them. And then yeah, TC's death. TC's death was to me.
Oh, I liked it.
Okay, wow.
Look, I love blood. I love a tub full of blood. I love spooky green bathrooms and shit. And especially the way that Matt reacts to it, I thought was interesting. The one thing that frustrated me was when the camera got dropped and I couldn't see whatever happened to TC because I wanted to see it.
Well, that's the thing. Nothing happened to him. He got pulled into the bathtub full of blood, and then nothing happened. He disappeared. He wasn't there after that.
But that doesn't. That's just frustrating to me.
Yeah.
You can say a person disappears, but
Yeah, I gotta say.
I thought the death method was enjoyable.
Yeah, found footage is not known for its kills.
Then what is it known for? Jump
not
scares?
For being found footage. Why? No, you know this, alright? You and me, okay.
You keep saying, found footage is not known for its story. It's not known for its characters. What is it known for?
It's not known for characters, or story, or deaths. It's known for tension, and it's known for jump scares. And tension.
And this did not do it on tension for me, and it had 2 scary jump scares.
Which the scariest jump scare in the movie is coming up in the plot, which I love.
So
anyway,
Matt jumps down the elevator shaft.
Whoa! Hold on. Jeez.
That was my next note.
Okay, I don't trust your notes anymore. Okay.
Make your own notes then.
The next thing is they find... I know this off the top of my head. Memory. So, they find an elevator shaft. Lance goes to find a big thing of metal. And he looks in the corner of a room. And there's what looks like a tongue. And then blood starts dripping on it. And he looks up and there's a dude Spider-Maning in the corner. Fun times.
Okay, that was scary. That was my second scary jump scare.
Yep.
But there was a point when they found the elevator, I thought, what do I always say? In case of emergency, do not use elevator, please use stairs.
Except for if the stairs are blocked off.
This is what I say at the end of Reanimator, but that was my thought. I'm in case of emergency, do not use elevator. Anyway, continue.
I think in that same scene with the elevator, Lance is walking down the hall trying to protect the rest of the team, and the guy just jumps out of the darkness at him, which I just love. And then Matt jumps down the elevator shaft.
R.I.P. Matt.
R.I.P. Matt. He was kind of a character.
Now, at this point, our 2 remaining living characters are Lance and Sasha. Mm-hmm. But she has been feeling not so hot. She has been feeling ill.
Mm-hmm.
Lance and Sasha end up going down into these tunnels, kind of basement tunnels underneath the building. Very spooky.
Spook.
Sasha is vomiting blood, which is how you know that you should call 911.
Yep.
First of all.
If you had cell service or had a phone.
Yes, but
Yeah.
in any other situation, you would.
True.
That's your sign that hey, we should get help.
Yep, this has been emergency advice with the Horror Bros. Don't use the elevator, use the stairs. And call 911 if someone is puking blood.
I bring my film knowledge, and then you bring all your Boy Scout knowledge to this.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever we do Blair Witch, and you can tell, and this is just a Boy
This is
Scout
horrible.
what not to do list.
And don't get me started on the descent.
We will.
The descent
We'll bring
is
it
the
back.
same way. Yeah,
Let's
bring
put a
it back.
pin in it. We'll bring it back.
Let's put a pin in it. Yes.
Look, I thought that like, oh wait, are we gonna have body horror? I say that as I despise vomit, and it is genuinely disturbing to me, and I'm like, oh, we got body horror? Because I thought, I was hoping that it was going to go somewhere interesting, and then it doesn't.
Let me go ahead and say what the movie says. Nope.
It is so disinterested
In anything
in
interesting.
Sasha that it turns her into a puff of smoke.
Yeah, a fog comes over the camera, and she disappears.
I'm saying it again. It's dumb.
Yep.
It's just dumb.
Yep. And then we get a mukbang with a rat. Lance eats a rat on camera. Had to include that in the episode because he eats the rat. And then we're getting to the
I think
conclusion.
I was busy writing notes at that moment or something.
No, he eats a rat. Yeah. Did you miss that bit? He eats the rat.
Wait, I wrote a note. So Lance is alone now in
The tunnels.
in underground, and he says something like, "What do you want from me?" And I mean, first of all, within the story of this one movie, we can safely say we don't know. Maybe it's because I watched it recently, but I thought of the Red Room and the little man and Bob, and the little man who says, "I want all your Garmonbosia," and Garmonbosia means pain and sorrow. So I thought, the ghosts want his suffering.
His Garmonbosia.
They want your Garmonbosia, dude. Obviously.
They want your Garmonbosia. And then,
Yeah.
as he wakes up, he sees a door. And that's another one of the little twists of this building does whatever it wants with its structure. And he starts going through this medical facility, and he sees...
This is the Wreck ending. They just ended it the way Wreck ended.
That is true. They pulled out the Wreck ending. But someone, on one of the reviews on Letterboxd, they said that the photos that he sees of, bodies getting, like medically carved into, are the characters in the movie. Like TC, Matt, Houston, etc. And I rewatched it and I couldn't tell. But that would be an interesting concept if that was. Because that would explain his reaction a little bit better.
I guess I don't... I recall just him being, scared and disgusted.
Yeah.
But I think, I just thought, oh, that's how you would react to seeing...
True, yeah.
Those images, even if you didn't know who those people were.
Yeah.
I didn't see any indication that those were...
I couldn't tell either.
The previous victims. We get a scary moment when he sees the doctors and the doctors attack him.
Mm-hmm. And we hear him getting lobotomized, and our camera's pointing.
Do we? Or is it just screaming?
Well, we hear him getting attacked, at least.
Okay. That's a given.
Well, we hear him getting attacked and saying, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. You don't have to do this. I'm not crazy. And then the final shot of the movie is Lance Preston saying, "They said I'm all better now, so I can go home. For Grave Encounters, I'm Lance Preston. Out." Bam. End of movie.
I could make a comparison to 1984, but I don't think this movie deserves it.
Nope.
But I will tie it back to the horror trope of I'm all better now. They are not. I can think of one exception in horror cinema, but yeah, generally if someone says they're all right now,
They're not.
They're definitely not. Yeah, and that's the end of my notes.
Yep, and I think let's go ahead and go into takeaways, and I'm going to start off by saying, as a found footage fan, an FFF, a found footage fan. I like this movie. It's a good movie. I think it lies in a very rare space for found footage in that I think it is a good found footage film. Provides more content than Paranormal Activity does. Paranormal Activity is staring at someone's bedroom for 90 minutes and then something gets thrown at the camera. And then you have Creep and Hell House, which are off the deep end in terms of this movie is trying incredibly hard and succeeding at making you feel incredibly uncomfortable in the entire time you're watching it. That's Creep. Hell House freaking you out the entire time. Grave Encounters lies in the great middle space of this is a quality movie. This is a good example of found footage, and it actually has something to watch. If you don't like Paranormal Activity, bam, you want to step it up a notch? Take it to Grave Encounters. I really enjoyed this movie. Actually, this is one of the few movies that I've rated higher on rewatch than I originally rated it. I mean, even Paranormal Activity, I brought that down a notch. I rated this movie, I think, 4.5 on this second watch, and I think this movie is very good. It's not a masterpiece, obviously, but it's a damn good time, and I really enjoyed it.
Valid. I think I already gave away my takeaways from this movie.
Yep.
It's not a terrible movie.
Really?
However bad that you think a movie is, I have probably seen worse. I've seen student films. Okay?
Which the second one has student films in it. It's horrible.
This movie made me realize how good Blair Witch is. Blair Witch, Wreck, and Paranormal Activity. It makes me appreciate those movies more, having seen this one, which sounds very backhanded. I would say it's an issue of too many things.
Yeah.
There are some interesting things in it. There are lots of things that could have been interesting. I just feel like the movie wasn't interested in those things. And I might be biased because I'm not into found footage. But I think the found footage was getting in the way for me of the things that I found interesting. That's I think the best review I can give it.
Yep.
The most accurate review. Is it time for reviews?
Reviews? I was gonna move past that, but yeah, let's do it. I mean, I don't have any reviews.
I did like a couple reviews on Letterboxd of this movie. William says, "Them graves be encountering." So true. So true. And Nicholas Farron, who said, "Not a single grave was ever encountered."
These aren't actual reviews, these are just funny jokes.
Okay, and that's what I'm looking for.
That is true. That is really funny.
I usually try to go for the joke review, and I actually gave like an actual review for this movie.
I know, I was so surprised. I was like, genuine review?
I know, it's out of character. I don't usually do that. Were there any reviews that you found funny, entertaining?
I had my own review that I wrote down in my notes, and it was at that one of those last moments I just wrote down rat rotisserie, and I think that was genius. Which I saw notes about, like, oh, it's a rat mukbang video. Tag yourself. I'm the guy that they forgot halfway through the movie. I have no idea who said that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
R.I.P. Matt. I'm so sorry.
Sorry, Matt. If you guys had used the buddy system.
Yeah, no buddy system. At all. This is also the worst film crew. Lance Preston is not even like a leader. He's just the host. He's not even like there. Flying this plane. He's just there.
He's punching buttons at random.
Yeah, this crew, they don't trust each other, and I think that's one of the most important things to have on a team. Is trust.
And faith that your leader won't lock you into a haunted asylum. These are our notes.
Yeah, we were starting with the red flags on this one.
Yeah. And, well, I mean, not on to next week, or next episode. What do we got?
I've been building the suspense for you on this one.
Yeah, you have.
So this week we had, if not one of your favorite movies, a movie from one of your favorite genres that you really enjoy.
Yep.
You get to talk about some of your favorite things.
Yeah.
So I wanted to swing from your ballpark into my ballpark.
Great metaphor.
I want to give the listeners an idea of the range that we will encompass in this show. You know?
This is some crazy freaking range.
I hope you're ready.
I look, jeez, man.
The battle for the mind of North America will be fought in the video arena, the Videodrome.
Oh.
Yes, I am bringing not just one of David Cronenberg's masterpieces, but also one of my top 4 movies and one of my favorite horror movies. Videodrome from 1983. This is one of the movies that changed my life. I watched this after I had been bitten with the horror bug, which I will credit to Ginger Snaps. And Ginger Snaps led me to David Cronenberg, and the first Cronenberg I watched was Videodrome, and it is still my favorite.
That's the one you have a Criterion Blu-ray for, right?
Yes. This one is in fact in the Criterion Collection.
We are dining well.
And I will also be bringing some of my Cronenberg knowledge, both from Cronenberg's audio commentary on Videodrome, but also from the book Cronenberg on Cronenberg, because I'm a Cronenberg fan.
If you didn't pick that up, yeah.
I've also screened this movie, and it is the main inspiration for the short film that I'm working on right now. I'm kind of a fan of this movie.
What?
This should be fun.
Prepare yourself, everyone.
Prepare yourself.
The first Lynch I watched was an experience. I don't know if I'm ready for my first Cronenberg.
Lynch,
we're gonna do it anyway.
Lynch is an experience.
Oh, I know.
Period. The first Lynch I watched was Mulholland Drive, and yeah, I did not get it. But also, nobody gets Lynch.
Please tell me somebody gets Cronenberg.
For one, Cronenberg likes to talk about his movies. Lynch, he doesn't like talking about his movies, and he deliberately doesn't explain them. Cronenberg is happy to discuss them. And he's happy to tell you, like, his ideas behind something. I mean, he's also, like, happy to hear other interpretations, but he will tell you, like, oh, this is what I had in mind, and this wasn't what I had in mind. Lynch does a lot of experimentation with narrative form. The thing about Cronenberg is he's a actually rather classical, conventional filmmaker, but he's showing you something that is bizarre. But he's going to show it to you as plainly as possible. Yeah, anyway, I'm kind of a big fan, so stay tuned.
Prepare yourself.
It's only available for rent on streaming right now, sadly, and I think that's been the case for a while, unfortunately. I would still strongly recommend it. Just go pirate it.
Hold on, that's...
No, because actually, like, piracy is, like, the perfect way to watch Videodrome, just given you'll see what the movie's about.
It adds to the theme.
It's just the right way to watch Videodrome. Like, I don't expect you to have a pirated VHS copy to watch, because that would be the perfect way to watch Videodrome, but at least if you pirate it, you're in the spirit. You're in the spirit.
Alrighty. Well.
But we'll be talking about it next time. It'll change your life.
I really did not do the quotes like you're doing. I gotta pick it up on the quotes for next episode.
Well, look, Grave Encounters was not the most quotable.
This place is about as haunted as a sock drawer.
Okay, I'm gonna try to keep that one though. I'm gonna keep that in my sock drawer, actually. But also, I've seen Videodrome a million times, and there's well, we'll get into it, but like, there's one character who is just so quotable, and that's where I got the battle for the mind of North America.
That was damn good.
There's so much more in store for you.
Alright, well, I think that's all we got for Horror Bros. Everyone, have a good night, America.
Stay spooky.